So Matt, what's happening today?
Not much. It's a beautiful sunny day. Finally, we've had lots and lots and lots of rain and cold in San Diego. So I'm complaining bitterly, but today is good.
For as a reminder, Matt is my podcast producer. He's a podcaster himself, great marketing guy, and the CEO of Pursuing Results out in San Diego, California. So,
that's right, near your old stomping grounds.
There you go. I'm jealous. So you having a hard time finding people?
We are. We're running an internship right now. And yes, we've just offered 4 people to go through the internship and 1 dropped out literally on like day 2. Yes, yeah. We're having a hard time with people.
It's a crazy time. People keep asking me, they're like, what's the environment like? And I'm as busy as I've ever been. Here we are in the, not even the end of the first quarter of 2023. I think I've done about 50% of the placements that I did last year. And last year was a record year.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there thinking three quarters more to go. What's this year going to look like? And here's the reality of the matter is good talent is still hard to find.
Yeah.
I don't care what you hear coming out. Yeah. Well, interesting. I was at a conference a couple of weeks ago and you hear about all the layoffs at Facebook and Google and Twitter. A guy from McKinsey that I've sat on a panel with at a conference was telling me that 40% of those people who got laid off from those companies had jobs within a week.
No way.
Yep.
Interesting
statistic. Within a week of them being laid off from one of the big guys, they had a job offer from somebody else. Okay. And it just goes to show that small companies are out there. This is what I tell people. They're always afraid to go to work. A lot of people are afraid to go to work in a small company. They think, well, there's not a lot of security there and it's a scary place to be. And I look at it and I go, look, the small companies aren't laying off people. The small companies are going out and kicking and scratching and fighting for all the good talent they can find because they're the ones who want to grow.
Yeah. Love it. I never guessed. It's been, the layoffs have been fodder for a lot of talk, especially online about, catastrophizing it and making it seem like it's the worst thing ever. I would have never guessed that they turned around and found a new job quickly. So, okay. So let's talk a little bit about what you and I were discussing behind the scenes, which is just understanding the market. And you can share that there's an example that you gave. I don't know if you want to give it on the podcast or not, but, companies really have to understand where the market is because those little tidbits right there, just understanding that the McKinsey guy pointed out, if you don't know that that's what's happening, you're going to end up lowballing people thinking that they don't have other options. And they're sitting on offers from other companies going, I don't need to take your lowball offer.
Yep. Once again, it's the big companies. So last football season, Mahomes was driving downfield. It pissed me off because they were down. It was like throws a winning touchdown and I missed it.
Oh, you missed it.
And I get a call on a Sunday.
Okay.
And I get a call on a Sunday afternoon from a company. A Sunday afternoon, a desperate guy. And he's like the general manager of our MRO facility, maintenance repair overhaul facility, just left. And we got to replace him. Like, why did he leave? He got a better offer somewhere else. Okay. What was it? Yeah. Okay. So he got a better offer somewhere else, right? And he's like, yeah. And I go, what do you want to pay your general manager and your role? He goes, oh, I think we want to pay him $160,000 to $170,000.
Okay.
And I started laughing. Like when the laughter is over, when everybody quits laughing and you can hear through the crowd, I'll tell you what you need to be paying a general manager. He's like, what is it? I said, $200,000. Yeah, minimum $200,000 on a base.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh man, we just can't get there. We can't get there. I'm like, why can't you get? Because company and the parity and all the other stuff. And I'm like, well, then go find somebody and bring them in at $160,000, and in 6 months, somebody else is going to poach them away. You're going to have the same conversation. Yeah. And, maybe the reality of the market just needs to hit everybody. But I'm seeing a lot of this, pay package requirements are changing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for high quality talent, you know, the power is not on the employer's side. You know, it's you pay for what you want. If you want really good talent, you got to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just, you know, big companies, I'm not seeing that. I think they can't get out of their HR heads.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're working off old data. They can't get through their HR heads that, hey, look, maybe times have changed a little bit post COVID.
Yeah, I mean, holy cow! I mean, just the fact that remote working is more acceptable destroys the existing market as everybody knew it. You know, now that's not the case for obviously everything. Like you can't general manage an MRO company from, you know, across the world or whatever. But, you know, so it doesn't apply everywhere. But, you know, one of the examples we were talking about before we jumped on is a remote position, or it's a position at a, you know, American division of a Canadian company. And the, you know, the Canadian company is the one that's setting pay scales for the Americans divisions. Like that's not working because they're not in tune with what the market is saying. Inflation is another another factor. Yeah. Like all those things are, you can't look at pre-COVID data basically to go off of.
No. There's a lot of things. Yeah, look, there's a lot of things that's coming. What's interesting, the small companies, equity comes into play. And you're talking about the small companies may be cash limited. So if you're thinking about going to a cash company, or if you're thinking about going to a small company, hey, look, I'll take $175,000 on a base salary plus bonus and equity. Like, for instance, I'll give you a great example. You know, it comes down. I placed the COO of a smaller company, and they put two offers in front of them. One had a higher base salary and a 30% bonus and equity, right? The second one had a lower base salary, about $20,000 or $30,000 lower with a 30% bonus, but they doubled the equity. And they said, hey, you know, it's cash or prizes.
Yeah, totally.
Trust is here. The prizes in 18 months are going to be worth a hell of a lot more than the cash. And after about 5 interviews with the company, the guy's like, hell yeah, I'm taking the smaller base. You know, I can live off that. Yeah. I want the equity. We're all thinking like owners. Yeah. You know, when you take an equity package, you have to think like an owner in the company.
Yeah.
And that's what's happened. But the big companies, nobody wants to think like an owner because, you know, it's all this, you know, everybody's in their HR head. You know, they want, you know, base and bonus, and it's a job. It's a job. It's a job job.
Yeah. That change will never come from the top down. Richard Koch was talking about this 20 years ago in the 80-20 individual. He's talking about how, like, when you understand if you're the 80-20, if you're the vital few that actually delivers the majority of the results for the company, like all of a sudden, as soon as that light bulb goes off, you realize that you hold all the negotiating power and you start to wield that negotiating power. And I think people are starting to figure that out. It's taken a while. It's taken COVID and all these other things, but they're starting to figure it out. Companies don't know it yet, but I think the individuals are starting to feel it. Like, hey, I'm the one that determines whether the trains run on time, whether things get done. I'm the one that determines whether deals get in, and nothing happens unless I bring in deals. Like, those are the people that have the power. And Richard Koch makes the point that if you're that person, the way to get rich is always equity. You know, whether it's stock options, whether it's, you know, whatever it is, however it's structured, whatever, like, you should always go for a piece of the action, because you will never get paid what you're truly worth unless you have a huge, like a chunk of the upside that you personally helped to create. So, yeah, so I love to see that development from the individual side. Obviously, companies can make an argument of whether it's in their best interest or not, but I think the balancing out the other side of that is going to be the operations side of all the other 80% of the employees that just kind of keep things running and they don't contribute above extra value. They just keep getting squeezed. They keep getting automated. Things keep getting delegated down the line to lesser paid people. And like, you can't, I think that's where companies need to acknowledge that, hey, I've got to pay a few key people more than I'm comfortable. Well, let's, instead of fighting that trend, let's embrace it. Now let's go figure out how we can make the rest of the operations more efficient so that we can afford to pay the people that matter.
Right. Hourly employees will always be hourly employees. They'll come to work, they'll work 9 to 5, they'll do what they need to do. The people who enhance value always have this question in their mind. if I do this, what do I get? What's in it for me? Type of deal. If I grow your business $10 million, how much of that goes in my pocket? It's a very simple conversation. Some of your wealthiest people are salespeople who work on commission only. They don't want a salary. They don't want a paycheck. That's a burden. Yeah. They can't live on it anyway. Mm-hmm. So, I think that's kind of what, I'm seeing, the need for this shift, not just in, people out there looking for the jobs and saying, okay, I got to think more like an owner, but from the company side are saying, all right, we have limited resources as far as cash. What are 3 or 4 different things we can do in lieu of cash to make somebody really happy? And it always comes down to the equity. And, make somebody an owner. Align their goals with your goals, and everybody will always be happy.
Yeah. If you give people a chance to bet on themselves, you'll figure out really quickly who has the self-confidence to do it. That's the person you want.
That's it. The salesperson who says, I need a big base is not a good salesperson. It's not a good salesperson.
The salesperson wants a big base. Beware of that person.
Beware.
Okay. What's the best way for people to reach out and connect?
They can always call me 910-231-4037. Email Craig at northstaresg.com.
Love it. Fun conversation as always.
Thanks, Matt, for coming on again. Mm-hmm. I hope you enjoyed the latest edition of the Aerospace Executive Podcast. You can reach out to me directly, Craig at northstaresg.com, or check us out at www.northstaresg.com. You can subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, or on YouTube. Just do a search for Aerospace Executive Podcast. Thanks again. I'm Craig Piven.